Welcome to Relation Tales. Please like this video and subscribe Relation Tales. We're grateful for each and every one of you. Let us know where in the world you're tuning in from. We'd love to hear from you in the comments. Let's begin. I stood by the window, watching the wind toy with the leaves when her message came in. Running late. Don't wait up. No explanation. No details. Just that. I stared at it like it was written in another language. I hadn't seen my wife, Eliza, in almost 14 hours, and she had never once, in our entire marriage, told me not to wait up. Not once. Earlier that day, she left wearing a silver dress I hadn't seen before. Tight-fitting, heels higher than usual, and perfume so heavy it hung in the air after she walked out. "You look different," I'd said, trying to hide the knot in my stomach. She smiled at me. That polished smile she used on clients. Not on me. Not anymore. "It's just a work gala, Mason," she'd said, brushing past me like my opinion didn't matter. But I watched her linger outside before calling a car. Not our car, not her usual ride either. And when I looked from the upstairs window, I saw her laughing with the driver before sliding into the back seat. That wasn't work. That wasn't anything close to it. Now, it was nearly 1 a.m., and the silence in our house had grown thick, almost unbearable. I tried calling her. Straight to voicemail. I tried texting. No reply. I refreshed her location. Turn off. Eliza never turned off her location. Never. That's when my chest tightened. Not with fear. Not with sadness. With knowing. I made coffee I didn't drink. Paste and slippers I never used. I stood by the window like a man waiting for news of a crime. At 3:26 a.m., the front door creaked open. She stumbled in. Her hair was tousled. Her lipstick smeared to her cheekbone. Her heels dangled from 2 fingers like trophies. She didn't say a word to me. She didn't even see me. She just moved past like I was a shadow in her periphery. "Eliza," I said softly. She froze, swayed slightly, then looked up, glassy-eyed, mascara trailing down her face. "Oh, hey," she muttered. "Where were you?" She smiled, a tired, ugly, guilty smile. "Don't be dramatic, Mason. I just had a little too much to drink. I didn't sleep that night. I didn't sleep the night after either. Because something inside me knew that whatever happened that night wasn't a one-time thing. The following days were a blur of pretending. She acted like nothing happened. She made coffee in the mornings. She folded laundry. She kissed me goodnight. But I noticed the details. The phone always face down, the shower running longer, the new clothes that appeared without tags, the random excuses to step out for errands that took hours. I didn't accuse. I observed. I became a stranger in my own marriage, watching a woman I no longer recognized. Then one night, she went to sleep early. I sat in the living room, the blue TV light flickering across my face, pretending to scroll, waiting for her breathing to even out. When I was sure she was out, I picked up her phone. It was unlocked. I don't know what I expected to find. Maybe nothing. Maybe I wanted to be wrong. But I wasn't. There was a thread labeled Emily. Inside were photos, videos, receipts, messages that tore the breath from my lungs. "He doesn't suspect a thing. He never even asks. I told you that man at the lounge would blow your mind. You were so wild last night. I wish I'd recorded more." But she had. She'd sent videos. The first was Eliza kissing a man I'd never seen before, hands everywhere. The next, Eliza, laughing, drunk, falling backward onto a hotel bed while 2 men hovered over her, laughing with her. And then, I stopped watching, because what came next wasn't a mistake. It wasn't just one night. It was intentional, planned, repeated, and she had done it all while I stayed home, cooked her dinner, warmed her bed, and loved her like a fool. That night, I didn't confront her. That night, I planned, because I wasn't going to scream or cry. I wasn't going to beg or collapse. I was going to destroy everything she'd built on my name. The next morning, Eliza brewed my coffee like clockwork. "You're quiet today," she said, not even looking up. I smiled. "Just thinking about work?" I lied, folding my newspaper. She slid the mug toward me, her eyes flicking up for a moment, searching my face like she suspected something. But I'd already perfected my new expression. Calm, detached, pleasant. Because rage was too easy. I didn't want easy. I wanted precision. For the next 2 weeks, I made her life feel like nothing had changed. I laughed at her jokes. I held her hand when we walked. I listened to her stories about meetings and late shifts and networking mixers. Meanwhile, I started building my case. She had no idea I was watching her patterns. No idea that I had hired a discreet investigator to tail her on the nights she claimed to be out meeting a client. No clue that I was collecting videos, hotel bookings, parking receipts, timestamp photos, everything. Eliza had always been proud of how carefully she planned everything. But she underestimated just how careful I could be when someone gave me a reason. I began slipping away earlier from work, under the radar. I had long talks with my lawyer. I updated all the financial accounts, moved most of my assets under a different name, converted our shared bank account into a monitoring tool. She never noticed. She was too busy pretending she wasn't being watched. But I saw it all. One night, she came home smelling of another man again. I hugged her, kissed her cheek, and whispered, "I missed you." She flinched just slightly. That's when I knew she was beginning to suspect something. But it was already too late. Eliza had a routine. Every Thursday, she claimed to be attending a networking dinner downtown. But what she didn't know was that I had already visited the hotel 3 times. I'd seen her arrive. I'd seen a man she met there. A lawyer, older, married, smug. I had footage of them in the bar. I had footage of them checking in. But what I really needed was a nail for the coffin. So I waited for the right night. Thursday, 3 weeks after I first discovered the affair. Eliza walked out the door in her new navy dress, holding her clutch with the practiced elegance of a woman who believed no one would ever catch her. I smiled at her like nothing was wrong. "Don't wait up," she said again, like a reflex. "I never do," I replied. Calm, flat, empty. Once she left, I didn't follow her. I didn't have to. I had already paid the hotel clerk for access. I had installed a small mic in the headboard 2 days prior during a staged booking under a friend's name. That night, I received a live audio feed directly to my phone. She wasn't just cheating. She was laughing about it, mocking me. I recorded every word. When they joked about my boring, loyal husband who probably irons his socks, I didn't flinch. When she moaned for someone else, I didn't blink. Because pain is powerful when channeled. That same night, while she was tangled in another man's bed, I sent our prenup to my lawyer, along with all the evidence required to ensure that Eliza Langford walked away with nothing. But that was just the beginning. By the next week, I'd already filed for divorce, but quietly, strategically. The papers were sitting on my lawyer's desk, ready to be delivered. But I didn't serve them yet. I had one more thing to do. Eliza had worked at a boutique interior design firm. Small team. Reputational business. Word of mouth mattered. Her career was built on grace, trust, and discretion. So I waited. I waited until the firm's yearly gala, where she would be celebrated in front of her bosses, clients, friends, where she'd stand on a stage and say things like, "Honesty matters and integrity is everything." That was when I made my move. I walked into the ballroom dressed to kill, carrying nothing but a small envelope. She saw me from across the room, and her face paled. She hadn't expected me there. She stuttered through her speech, eyes darting toward me every few seconds. When she stepped down, I approached her slowly. "Hi, sweetheart," I said. "Mason, what are you doing here?" she hissed, her smile fixed like a mask. "Oh, I just came to drop something off." I handed her the envelope. She opened it. Inside, a printed screenshot of her with the other man, time-stamped. A thumb drive. A single sentence handwritten at the bottom. "You've got 24 hours to resign, or this becomes a group email." Her face dropped. She looked at me like she'd just seen a ghost. "What is this?" "Your exit," I said. "Nice party, by the way." And then I turned around, leaving her in that room full of people, shaking, cornered, humiliated. She didn't know it yet, but her career was already over. Her reputation? That was next. Eliza resigned from the design firm the very next morning. No explanation. No farewell post. No announcement. Just a polite email that said she was stepping away to prioritize family. I knew her well enough to imagine how she typed it. Palms sweaty, mind racing, pride unraveling behind every sentence. She tried calling me that night. I let it ring. Then again the next morning. I let it ring again. because I was no longer a man answering to heartbreak. I was now the architect of consequences. While Eliza spent the next week avoiding her colleagues, friends, and the clients who had already started asking questions, I went deeper. She had a small savings account she thought I didn't know about. I'd found it when we were still happy, months before the affair, but I'd never said anything. Now, I froze it through legal channels as part of our pending divorce claim. She came storming into the house that afternoon, gripping her phone. "What did you do?" she hissed. I looked up from my laptop, calm. "What do you mean? You froze my personal funds." I sipped my coffee. "They're not personal anymore, Eliza. You used our joint income to build that account. And now we're settling up. You can't do this." I stood up slowly. "Eliza," I said, voice low and steady. "You had your fun. Now you get to have your fallout." She stared at me. I could see the cracks, the panic beneath the pride, the crumbling behind the eyeliner. Then her voice turned soft, almost pleading. "Mason, we were broken long before this. I didn't mean to destroy everything." I nodded. "Maybe, but I didn't cheat. You did." "I was lonely," she said. "You were always working. You stopped seeing me." I stared at her for a long moment. "I saw you," I said, my voice beginning to shake. "I saw everything, and I still loved you. I made excuses for you when you came home reeking of someone else's breath. I tucked you into bed after you stumbled through the door at 3 a.m. I kissed you every morning pretending I wasn't breaking inside." Tears welled in her eyes. "But I wasn't finished. I downloaded videos of you with other men." I continued. "Do you know what that does to a man, Eliza? Watching his wife kiss strangers while he waits up, hoping she texts back." She broke then, fully, dropped to the kitchen floor, crying into her knees, begging for forgiveness. But I had no mercy left. I leaned down, whispered near her ear, "You ended us the moment you turned our marriage into entertainment." Then I walked out. The next day, I sent the thumb drive to her parents. She'd always bragged about how much they admired her, how they saw her as the perfect daughter. The photos were time-stamped, clean, indisputable. I didn't send a message with them. The footage said enough. She called me that night, sobbing uncontrollably. "They won't speak to me," she said. "My dad, he told me I was dead to him." I didn't reply. She was looking for pity, but I was far past pity now. I wanted silence, because silence is what she gave me for months while she snuck out, washed perfume off in hotel bathrooms, and smiled at me like nothing was broken. Then came the final piece. Her affair partner, Vincent Harris, the married lawyer, had a picture-perfect family. A wife, 2 daughters, a spotless reputation. So I sent a polite, anonymous package to his home. Inside, a printed image of him and Eliza kissing in a hotel lobby. The same photo I handed Eliza at her work gala. A second copy went to his firm's HR. Vincent was fired 2 weeks later. The scandal reached the local paper, though names were kept quiet. But I knew, Eliza knew, the man she risked our marriage for, unemployed, divorced, and reportedly served with a restraining order. She showed up on my doorstep the next month. Thinner, pale, eyes sunken in. "Mason," she whispered, "please, I have nothing left." I looked at her like I didn't know her, like she wasn't the woman I once imagined growing old with. "Good," I said, and I closed the door in her face. The last time I saw Eliza through the peephole, she didn't even knock. She just stood there, staring at the door like it might open itself, like maybe, just maybe, I'd forgotten what she did. But I hadn't, and I wouldn't. She disappeared after that. Weeks passed. The quiet was strange at first, like my soul had to adjust to breathing without weight again. But freedom has a sound. It's not silence. It's peace. No more fake smiles. No more watching someone you love become someone you no longer know. I threw myself into rebuilding, not just my finances or my social circle, but myself. I started going to the gym again. Started seeing friends I hadn't talked to in months. I picked up old habits I'd shelved during our marriage. Early morning runs, Sunday barbecues, long drives with no destination. For the first time in years, I wasn't managing someone else's chaos. I was living. And then came Sophie. She worked at the small coffee shop near my office. The kind of woman who actually meant it when she asked, "How's your day going?" She didn't know my past. Didn't ask. She just served coffee, smiled, and told me I looked tired if I really did. It wasn't love at first sight, but it was relief. Eventually, we started talking, then walking, then sharing parts of our lives that were still sore to touch. I told her about the divorce, the betrayal. She didn't flinch. She just listened, then quietly said, "That's a wound most people never admit they have." I didn't fall for Sophie fast. I fell slow, carefully, but I fell in a way that made me realize how much pretending I'd done before. Meanwhile, Eliza wasn't thriving. I didn't go looking for her updates. They found me. She'd moved into a small apartment, applied for jobs in marketing, branding, even waitressing, but the references she depended on didn't return her calls. Her social media became quiet. No more rooftop selfies. No more brunch stories or champagne smiles. One day, I received a long email from her. It was the kind of message written in the middle of the night, when pride is gone and honesty bleeds through every word. She wrote, "I destroyed the one person who loved me unconditionally. I lied. I cheated. I laughed while you broke in silence. I don't expect you to forgive me, but I need you to know that not a single day passes where I don't wish I could go back and stop myself. I don't know who I was becoming back then. I only know that the person I turned into deserved to lose everything. I'm sorry. I truly am. Not for what I lost, but for what I did to you while I still had you." I stared at that email for a long time, but I didn't reply. She didn't deserve my rage or my forgiveness. She deserved the emptiness that followed betrayal, because no apology, no matter how well written, could unring the bell she chose to hammer with her own hands. 6 months after the divorce, I sold the house. Every room in it held echoes of a lie. I bought a loft in the city. Exposed brick, tall windows, quiet. Sophie helped me move in. She didn't try to fill space with empty talk. She just folded clothes, stacked boxes, and ordered pizza. That night, sitting on the floor surrounded by bubble wrap and pizza grease, she looked at me and said, "Do you ever miss her?" I thought for a moment. Sometimes, I admitted. Not her. Just the version of her I thought was real. She nodded. "That version never really existed," she said gently. And she was right. A few weeks later, I ran into someone who used to work with Eliza. He didn't mention her directly, but his words lingered. "She burned a lot of bridges," he said. "Some people don't realize they're holding a torch until everything's already on fire." I never saw Eliza again after that, but I imagined her sometimes. Not with anger, not with grief, just with finality, like an old photo buried in a drawer. No longer sharp, no longer painful. Just over. A year after Eliza left my life, I stood outside the courthouse alone. The final hearing was short, cold, routine. No property split, no spousal support, no apologies exchanged. Just a signature, a date, and a paper stamped with finality. I watched the ink dry like it was sealing a coffin. And in a way it was. Not hers, not mine, but the coffin of a life I had once built with trembling hands and blind devotion. A life she'd quietly poisoned with every secret she whispered into someone else's ear. The judge looked up and said, "You're free to go." I almost laughed at how absurd those words felt, because freedom doesn't arrive with fanfare. It arrives like this, a slow, aching realization that you survived something designed to break you. And now you're here, breathing, blinking in the daylight, wondering what kind of man walks out of ruins and doesn't look back. Later that week, I packed up the last box from the storage unit that had been holding my life in pieces. Inside was a photo album, one I hadn't touched in nearly a year. I sat down on the floor of my loft and opened it, page by page. There she was, smiling on our honeymoon, laughing in a sunlit kitchen, holding my hand during our first Christmas as husband and wife. But now, every image looked like it had been taken by someone else. A stranger, a ghost. I closed the album gently and set it back in the box. Not because I hated the memories, but because I no longer belonged in them. Sophie moved in during the fall. There was no big announcement, no dramatic conversation, just small things left behind. A toothbrush, her sweater, the scent of fresh lavender on the sheets. She asked once, "Are you ready for this?" Truly. I looked her in the eyes, steady. "Yes," I said, "because I know who I am now. I know what I'm not. And I wasn't a man chasing ghosts anymore. I wasn't someone searching Eliza's eyes for honesty that had died long ago. I was present. I was aware. I was awake. One night, Sophie and I went out to a rooftop bar. Quiet music, warm breeze, the kind of evening you don't forget, not because it was extraordinary, but because it was real. No games, no secrets, just two people breathing the same truth. We were halfway through drinks when Sophie leaned close and said, "You know, I don't need to fix you. I don't even want to." I smiled. "Good," I said, "because I'm not broken. Just rebuilt." She reached for my hand under the table and squeezed it. Not tightly, not desperately, just honestly. Months later, I received one last message from Eliza. No subject line, just a paragraph. "I saw your engagement photo. She's beautiful. I hope you're happy. I'm sorry again for everything. I hope you found peace." I didn't reply. I didn't delete it either. I left it there, unread, undisturbed, a monument to a storm that had passed. A reminder that even the deepest betrayal couldn't destroy the version of me I fought to become. And maybe that's the true revenge. Not the email I sent to her parents. Not the career I dismantled with proof. Not the silence I gave her after she begged for my voice. But the fact that I made it through. That I loved again, stronger, wiser, cleaner. That she had to live with what she threw away. So if you're listening, wondering if healing after betrayal is possible, let me say this as someone who once sat alone in the dark, scrolling through the worst kind of truth. You don't heal by forgetting. You heal by outgrowing. And the day you stop needing to prove your worth to the person who broke you, that's the day you win.